Hi, Oni Girl House. I think that's how you say the screen name. I'm not really sure, and apologize if I've said it wrong. Thank you for the thoughtful video. I will try to respond in kind. I'd have to say, I have a problem with the examples you give. And this is something I've found again and again. You know, people give examples that aren't really real world, and for in a theoretic sense, or theoretically, I guess, your example might make sense. But the idea that collusion leads to a negative impact really doesn't bear itself out in the real world. We know that capitalists collude. Your idea of the cookie factory owners, they collude together and they raise the prices, and then people stop buying them, and then someone comes in. Well, it really ignores much of our history. I mean, we have oil cartels, OPEC. I mean, it's losing its grip on oil prices now, but for much of its history, it's been able to control oil prices because it had almost a monopoly on oil production. But that's not the only commodity. I mean, we have diamonds, the De Beer company that has artificially raised the price of diamonds, and through their marketing campaigns have created the idea that diamonds are actually, rare and should be bought for engagement purposes. That was collusion, and they hold diamonds in their vaults and only release a small amount to maintain that artificial price. The reason nobody can come in because no one else has the diamonds. That's starting to change now. That dynamic is starting to change. They've had such a grip on it for the last, 100 years. Cars. I mean, we saw this just recently when GM is going through all these problems. What did Honda do? Honda and Toyota actually raised their prices. They don't want to compete. They are in collusion, and it works very well, usually to their benefit. Going to the labor side of it, the reality is the collusion between labor helped. I mean, you enjoy these benefits. I mean, 8-hour work days, workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, paid time off, sick leave, pensions, all these wonderful things. That's collusion of labor. I mean, it gave these things to you. People fought and died for these things. And the collusion of women coming together. It took them 100 years to get the vote, but they finally got it. The blacks fighting against oppression, colluding together, fighting for their civil rights in this country. I mean, democracy, the very essence of democracy is working people coming together, colluding, and fighting the established structural power systems that oppress them. That's, there's a million real world examples I could give you, that's why I guess I have a problem with these, it's always, or what I hear from the Anarcho-Capitalists is, I'm going to trade you my peaches and, for your apples. It's so far from the real world. The real world is giant factories that make tennis shoes, or that make computers. I mean, that's real world stuff. And when you own the means of production, meaning you own those factories that have the technology and the machinery that are able to make those machines, like say I might come up with a great idea to make a car for much cheaper than GM, but I don't have the factory, and the capital needed to create those kinds of machines. It's just out of the league of the average person. It's just not possible. It's not feasible. And more importantly, much of the technology that is utilized in these major factories was developed in the public sector. I mean, it's not something the capitalists developed. This stuff, that's what the whole Pentagon system's about. These capitalists collude, they've colluded together because they realize that the high-tech sector could never make it in the free market. And so that's what the Pentagon essentially is. It's a subsidized high-tech, R&D. That's what it's all about. So to say collusion always leads to negative, has a negative impact. I just don't buy it. You know, when people colluded together to stop the Vietnam War, you know, they not only stopped the Vietnam War, but they made this a more democratic country in doing so. You know, collusion works. You know, people colluded in Spain. It took them 4 generations of colluding and, you know, educating, organizing each other before they had the revolution. You know, these things do work. So I think your assumptions, to me, they're flawed, and they're based on this theory, and and that's the economic theory. I mean, I understand that's what we're taught in school, this supply and demand. You know, if I sell my cookies too high, Joe Blow's going to start selling cookies cheaper. But the reality, it's not true, because if I'm Famous Amos and I do decide to raise my prices, and you can make cookies much cheaper than Famous Amos, but can you get them on the shelf in the store? Probably not. I mean, Frito-Lay, has a basic monopoly on chips. Go try to make chips cheaper than Frito-Lay. You can do it, but you won't get them on the shelf in any store. Same with Budweiser. I mean, this collusion stuff really works. So, in answer to your question, I think the best thing we can do is collude. I really think it works. We get together and we collude to make this a better place. I hope I answered your question. Thanks.